Hello and welcome to another exciting edition of Santos on Sports, along with my partner in crime, Mr. Chris Santos. I am Paul Santos. Good to be back after a little hiatus, and we've got so much to talk about. We'd like to thank our sponsors, Scotty's Pub, Citywide Glass, Lakeville Athletic Club, and last but not least, our good friend, attorney John B. Seed. So, Chris, busy guy over there with your tennis coaching and stuff.
Hey, Paul, it's been a long time, and I apologize to you. I apologize to our fans. I mean,
it's me too. It's me too.
Yeah, it's like, hey, where you guys been? But yeah, real busy. I know you were on vacation. Then I went on vacation. Then I came back, and I was right in the middle of my tennis season, and it was really busy. Traveling every weekend, practices late, all kinds of things going on. So I'm glad we're back. I know it's a new start. My season's over. I know things are settling down. So, hey, those people out there, our fans, we apologize, but we're back. Give us a call. Let us know what you think, what's going on in sports. We're open to any topic tonight. It's been a long time. Let's talk Bruins. Let's talk Celtics. Let's talk NFL draft. Let's talk Patriots draft. Let's talk Red Sox. Whatever you want to talk about, we're open to anything. And I want to congratulate Paul Santos, because Saturday morning, 7:30 to 9:30, WBSM, tune into Paul. He's got a radio talk show. He's getting it going, and he starts this weekend. So, Paul, congratulations to you, and I hope it's a great time.
Yeah, thank you very much, Chris. I appreciate it. I've been filling in the last few years when they call me, and it went back and forth, and finally a spot opened up. They said, hey, you want to grab that spot? I figured, all right, let's go for it. What the heck, nice. Right? So it's every single week, actually 7 to 9 a.m. on Saturday morning, and so we're looking forward to it. A little bit different. The sports talk is a little easier, but I'm still going to enjoy it because I love broadcasting, and it's a great opportunity, so I'm looking forward to it. Thank you very much for those kind words.
Well, once you get in there, Paul, maybe we can finagle a little bit of sports, and maybe we can find another time slot available for Santos on Sports on the radio, and have people from New Bedford in the local area call us up on the radio. That would be a lot of fun.
Well, now that I'm inside the building, I'll definitely drop the hints. Well, anyway, you bring up a lot there, and I actually put that down rather than have the one question this time. We've had so much happen since the last show. You know, the Patriots draft. What do we think about that? The Celtics, are they a well-oiled machine, or do they have some vulnerability? How about the Red Sox? I mean, after all is said and done, they're only a game and a half behind the Yankees, believe it or not. I couldn't believe it when I looked at the standings. I'm like, wow, they're that close to New York. So a lot going on. But I was thinking maybe we could start with the draft. You know, I'm looking at that draft. The Patriots grabbed the left tackle. They also grabbed the running back, and then they grabbed a wide receiver in the first three. And a lot of the experts seem to say, well, that's a good draft. But as you know, Chris, you never know if it's a good draft until later on when they either make it or they're busts. But I don't know. They're trying to fill some needs. There's a lot of needs in the Patriots. So I don't know. I guess I'm going to kind of defer a little bit to the experts and say, hey, it seems like they did okay, at least at the outset here.
No, I have to agree with you. You wanted to cover the needs, and there was quite few of them. And yes, offensive line. Yes, running back. Yes, wide receiver. And the Patriots said, okay, let's go and do some of that stuff. Even a kicker, got him later on too. Probably the best one out there. So they went in and do that as well. Once the draft is over, unrestricted free agents went out and got some receivers, went out and got some more offensive linemen. So, yeah, it's a draft of needs. Will it be drafted successfully? Yet to be determined. But some of the players, experts seem to say it's a good draft, good players, good picks. Vrabel seems happy. The organization seems happy. Now it's about putting the pads on, getting ready for some training, and the next thing you know, you got some preseason games before the real stuff. So, yeah, they made some needs, and I have to agree. I thought it was a pretty good draft for the New England Patriots.
So 774-218. 3393 if you want to jump in on any of these subjects. Yeah, I'm looking at the draft too, you know, and putting that draft aside for a second, I mean, as far as the individuals, I like the way Vrabel seems to be approaching this. Now, you got a coach this year now compared to the one last year. It was a bust. It was kind of a Hail Mary there by Robert Kraft. Didn't work out. Now you got Vrabel. I mean, I like the way he's carrying himself. I like some of the things he's said. they had a little clip of him talking to the players, the way he addresses the players, the fact that he's got some experience, he knows what he wants to do. And it seems like he was instrumental in these picks. It wasn't like, I know the general manager had some input, but it really felt like Vrabel's picks. And I think you got to let him do what he wants to do and build a team the way that he wants. And so that gives me a little bit more confidence than in the past.
Paul, I don't know how true this is, but I even heard that Vrabel put on some pads and went one-on-one with Campbell and tried to push him around a little bit. And what Campbell tried to push him around. And I hear Campbell flattened him a couple of times. So if that's true, then you want to talk about coach getting in the trenches. There's a coach that says, hey, how good is my number one pick? Well, yeah, he's going up against me. I guess he's pretty good. So if that's a true story, that's great to hear.
I like hearing stuff like that because, I think Vrabel commands respect. You know what I mean? Like the other guy, he didn't have enough experience to command that kind of respect. This guy's a Super Bowl champion. The other guy was too. But, obviously as a coach, he got into the playoffs. He's had some success. He's got some experience. Looks like he's kind of a no-nonsense guy, but also in kind of a fair way. So I don't know. Again, it's still early on, but, that story right there and some of the other things that he's said, the way he carries himself, I'm a little more optimistic.
I guess I can be, but, the proof is in the pudding. And what he puts on the field and what he does in training camp. And as you heard him speak, does it sound different than what they had last year? And how the players fit the bill? Are they catching on? Are they, yes, going into the plan and the process and doing all that? Obviously, that's yet to be determined. But I think they're off to a better start than what they were the previous year, and I think they will be better. And I think there's still a couple of players here and there away, especially a receiver, not a third down receiver. I want a number one, stretch the field, tall, lanky, not afraid to go across the middle. That kind of a player. I'd like to see a little bit better than that in free agency, and find a little bit more experience there. So they're going to be young, but if Vrabel demands respect, maybe they'll show up.
And the Boston Celtics off to a good start, beating Orlando 4-1. Of course, the only game they lost was the one I was at. They won all the rest of them, but we already knew that. But, I actually thought that the Celtics were vulnerable in that game because, historically, right, you win the first two at home. And that 2 games to none lead, the first game in the enemy court is usually the one that, the other team's throwing everything at you. But that's fine. They lost the game, but I still enjoyed the atmosphere watching a game in Orlando. I think that's the first time that I've ever seen a Boston team in a playoff game in the enemy arena. And it was interesting. It was a lot of fun. And there were a lot of Boston fans down there.
Yeah, I'm sure there was. And, there's a lot of locals that live down in Florida. And I'm sure they made the trip up to Orlando just as much as you did there while you were hanging out and had the opportunity to watch them. But what I'm thinking and what I'm seeing, Paul, is I thought Orlando decided to take the physicality route to try to beat the Boston Celtics. I thought they went at him and tried to beat him up and say, you know what, you can beat us on paper, but now you're going to beat us on the court because we're going to come at you and we're going to come at you with physicality. And I thought it took some wear and tear on Porzingis, on Brown, on Tatum, and a couple other guys. So let's see how the Celtics react from this and the physicality, and they went back at it and they played hard, in the next two after the one they lost that you were at and showed what they were about. Yeah, they had some flashes where, they weren't on, but there were other times that they were right where they want to be. And you text me a few times, the quality of their depth, showed up when it needed to be. But I thought it was a physicality series and expect to see that more from Detroit or the Knicks, whoever they're going to play, whoever wins that series. I think that will come back and people will see what Orlando did and try to do the same thing.
Well, it was great because in the first game, the Celtics won. And I think Tatum had kind of a so-so game. Then in the second game, Tatum was out because of that wrist, which I was really worried about. And, of course, Brown went off and had one of the best games he's ever had. And so I sent you a message, MVP.
Yep.
But then the third game that I was at, Tatum had a great game, even though they lost. And then he had another good game after that. Mm-hmm. So, hey, it's all coming together. I ran into Pritchard down there, which is another story. We'll talk about that in a moment. Got a little handshake in there, so I was chatting with him. And then right after that, it took him like 2 games to recover from a Santos handshake. But then in that last game, he did pretty well. And of course, like you said, Porzingis and the whole depth is really the key to the Celtics. So seeing that all come together is always nice to see. And actually, we have a call on the line.
It's really amazing that Paul Santos can rub off on an NBA player and the guy scores no points the next day that he meets Paul Santos. It's incredible. In fact, it says Santos on sports behind you. I thought for sure it'd be the picture of you and Pritchard together, but that might be in the future.
Yeah, that's right. All right, let's go to Ben from Dartmouth. Hey, Ben.
Hey, Ben.
Good evening, Paul and Chris. How are you doing today?
Yeah, good. Nice to hear from you.
Yeah, I just want to quickly talk about the Pats draft situation.
Okay.
Yes.
One of the main things is I really love this draft. This is one of the best drafts I've ever seen. I've been a Patriots fan since I was born. I mean, I was born in 2007, and I've been along with greatness. Like, I grew up around greatness, like Brady, Belichick, Gronkowski, all those players. Mike Vrabel is trying to bring that whole mechanism back to New England back when it was like 10 years ago, for example. The way I like this draft 100%, I feel like Drake May will be taking naps in the pocket. The amount of pressure the offensive line is going to put on that defense, Drake May is going to just be sleeping and throwing some deep balls. And, this offseason, we got a good blocking receiver out of Matt Collins. We got a good route receiver in Stephon Diggs. And I like that wide receiver out of, Washington State, Kyle Williams. And he's going to be a speedster too. He reminds me a lot of Brandon Cooks when he was with the Patriots. So, good draft overall. The center too, I want to acknowledge him because he was a 98.2 PFF rating in the PFF rating, and he's a very fastest center in the draft. So
it sounds like Ben's done his homework here. What do you think, Chris?
Pretty much.
Well, obviously, we have to wait to see once the season starts what these guys bring to the table. But I will agree with him. And Ben, I like your decision making of the Patriots meeting the needs and the point of starting with the offensive line to give May an opportunity to find the new receiver, to find the old man receiver in Diggs, to get Hollins, to get more guys involved. So from what you saw last year and the year before, they have greatly improved in those areas. Now it's a matter of bringing it on the field, showing us you can. They got rid of finally the last piece of their dynasty, which was a long snapper. There's nothing left. This is a new regime, and you think that they will have success with it. I have to agree with you. I think they will definitely improve from what they've had in the last 2 years.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. Yeah, I mean, releasing Joe Cardona was a big loss for the Patriots, but you got to understand, it's a new regime, and Mike Vrabel wants to have a brand new start and try to get rid of all the Bill Belichick guys who were in the organization when Bill Belichick was there. That was one thing that I thought of. The second thing is, Will Campbell, before the draft, I was speculating about him and his wingspan and whatnot. And the average length was literally his wingspan. So, I mean, the way his press conference was at the end, he was like, I'm going to fight and die to protect this team. That really was like, I like this guy already. So
You think that wingspan thing was overplayed a little bit, Chris? I mean, I know the statistics are the statistics, but we're talking about, I don't know, a half an inch or 3/4 of an inch difference.
I'm not too worried about that. If he's got fast feet and he gets in front of you and he's enough that he can extend, that's all I care about. I don't care if it's 6'4" to 6'4 3/4. I'm happy with it to what it is. But to me, it's going to be about opening holes. It's going to be about, obviously, pass protection. And that's two things that he's done well at LSU. And that's why they drafted him number 1. at pick number 4. So he's the best offensive line on the board, according to experts. They went in that direction. They know they need to protect May. And if they have any success of throwing the ball down the field, it's going to start with this guy and go from there.
Hey, Ben, what do you think about those Celtics?
Yeah, those Celtics, man. I told my friends, I was like, just wait. The Celtics are going to win 5. That's what they always do. They like to choke up on one game. You know, that controversial ending can be like 50-50, you know. It's tough to judge at that moment. So other than that, you know, the Celtics are moving on. I hope if the Pistons force a game 7 tonight, and even that, I don't care who we face. I feel like the Celtics, the biggest challenge this year will be the Thunder. The Thunder is a team that can't be stopped, and the Celtics have even struggled during the regular season this year too. So losing Tatum, losing Tatum in game 2, otherwise defensively all series long, they just were on the ball. You know, regardless or not, Peyton Pritchard stepped up, like you were talking about him before, meeting him at that hotel and whatnot. He stepped up defensively with rebounds and steals. So is Jaylen Brown too. Just been this Celtics team has been incredible defensively this season. So, you know, that's what's making them really well is their defense, and I hope they continue it throughout the rest of the way. So,
all right. Hey, Ben, thanks a lot for the call. We appreciate it.
Thank you, guys. Have a good rest of your day.
All right. Ben from Dartmouth, very optimistic looking at the draft. And, you know, I think a combination of some of the free agent hires and Vrabel there, and, you know, maybe the schedule is a little bit better, favorable to the Patriots this year too. You know, I'm hoping for a team that when you get into December, you know, we're fighting for a wild card spot, like the season's not over. You know what I mean? That's kind of what we're thinking this year. And I don't know, that doesn't seem like something that is not reachable.
Paul, if you're trying to twist my arm on the over and under and the number of wins that the Patriots make this year, you just get that out of your head right now.
You're not going to bet?
I'm not. I don't think I'm touching that this year. But who knows? You know, that might come up in a different way. So that could happen. But to go back to Ben, I think the Celtics would really like to see the Pistons force a game 7, give them more time to recuperate with maybe a little bit of banged up injuries, get Holiday, get his hamstring a little bit more healthy, see if he can get him into the second round and get him playing as well too. So, I'm hoping that the Pistons can take in another game and force a game 7.
Yeah, I'm not really worried about either one of these teams. You know, even New York, the Celtics had their number pretty much throughout the year. So, again, I don't want to be overconfident either. But, you know, I'm really looking Eastern Conference Finals, maybe get a challenge out of somebody. I mean, even Cleveland, the Celtics had their number too. But, you know, Cleveland's had a great year, I guess, in a 7-game series. And now it's a different situation. The Celtics got the experience and so forth. And as Ben said, you look at the West, a lot of these teams seem to be having trouble. I mean, look at the Lakers are getting bounced by Minnesota. Minnesota played them tough. And then OKC seems to be rolling right along, a 4-game sweep, number 1 seed and all that. But you never know if they make it all the way to the end. I mean, Denver is dangerous. As long as the Joker is there, anything can happen there. So, again, it would be interesting to see the Celtics play OKC. I think that would be a great final. But, you know, things have to line up from here to the end, and a lot can happen.
Oh, absolutely. And Cleveland and Indiana could be a nice little series to watch there too, because Cleveland looked pretty solid in that first round, winning 4 straight. And Indiana beating Milwaukee, even though Milwaukee had some injuries there with Lillard and a couple of others. But still, you're beating Giannis. That's still a good win there. So Cleveland's on right cylinders right now. The Celtics will have to be alert and really ready in that series if they win theirs and they have to face Cleveland. So, that would be a good Eastern Conference Finals. The other side, I mean, you know, Minnesota beating the Lakers, quite impressive, you know, to how they did it and what Edwards brings, obviously his game. But Oak City looks like a young, hungry, aggressive team that has a little extra edge in them. That
they're
says, you know
fearless.
what? They're saying you know what? It's our time now. Last year we were close. This year it's another step up. Keep an eye on them.
This is your time.
Yes. Exactly.
You know that Chris Santos in his man cave, you got like the entire speech up on the wall, don't you, from Herb Brooks?
I do have that. I have
Yeah.
a Jim Craig and a Herb Brooks, and it was the speech in the locker room. If you've ever watched Miracle, that speech was played.
Yes.
And if you need me to recite it word for word, yeah, I have in the past. I may not do that now, but I have mentioned that before. So
Wait a minute, you can recite it like right off the top of your head?
well,
We're gonna
you
save
know,
that. We're gonna save that one.
I've used it in the past for some different things, but you know, it was when I was growing up. 1980 was really big,
Right.
and to me,
Remember.
I was really into hockey at that time, and that was one of the greatest things that I ever saw in the history of my life. So it just stuck with me, and I live with it until the day I die.
Unbelievable. Yeah, probably the greatest moment in sports that I can
Yeah.
think of, the upset
Yeah.
from a bunch of college kids. But anyway, yeah, that was a big one. What I wanted to mention was, yeah, I didn't have the picture on. Maybe I'll put the picture up next time, but I did put it on Facebook, and I got so many comments and so forth on the picture with Pritchard. But to make a very long story short, my wife and I decided to go first class to dinner. And actually, my oldest son gave us a gift certificate to this restaurant, which covered most of it, but not all of it. And so we go to have dinner at the Four Seasons, right? So, I mean, you know, people are dressed to the nines, and we go in there, and I'm looking around, and I'm like, wow, this is quite the place here,
Yeah.
you know. Anyway, so we're waiting for the table. So I said to my wife, hey, let's go into this bar over here. So I go into the bar, order a drink. I started shooting the breeze with the guy next to me. All of a sudden, I see this person walking by, and I'm looking at him I'm like, hey. I said, aren't you Peyton Pritchard? So he's just like smiling. He goes, yeah. I said, oh, really? Yeah, oh, yeah. So I said, Jay, can you grab a quick picture? He goes, okay. So my wife happened to have her phone. She's happened her phone in her lap. So I'm like, hurry up, take a picture. So she took the picture. I said, hey, thanks very much. Hey, we'll go into the game tomorrow night. Good luck. He's like, thank you. And then he went off, very, very polite and everything. So, so it was fun. And I'm looking at the picture, and I'm probably 5'9", maybe 5'10".
Mm-hmm.
And he's standing next to me, and I don't know, what is he, 6'1" or something? He's only
Something
like a little
like
bit taller. He's only
Yeah.
like me and him.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking to myself, I can't believe this guy
Yeah.
can battle for rebounds with these guys 6'7", 6'8". And in fact, in one of the games, he went in and grabbed the rebound in between two or three guys that were all like a foot taller than him. So, boy, you have to give him a lot of credit.
Well, listen, it's an outstanding. That's something you'll take away for forever and say, hey, I met an NBA pro player, and that's great that your wife was able to take the picture there. And listen, if you put that picture up and you put it behind you on one of our shows, do not put great moments are born from great opportunities. Please don't do that.
Yeah, don't do that.
Don't do that.
All right, 774-218-3393 if you'd like to jump in. We have a couple of kind comments here. Ryan, I don't believe he's going to be able to call in tonight, but he's going to listen to the show later. He says best sports show in the state is back.
Yay,
that's a very high bar there, Chris. Very high bar.
Set the
Really
knob up
appreciate it. We appreciate it, but it's a very high bar we're going to go for there. And then how about this guy right here? He knows Chris loves those damn Cowboys. How about them Cowboys, he says.
Well, Jared's a colleague of mine at school, and he knows I'm a Cowboy fan. And, a little surprising, that we went with a guard at our first pick. But again, like the Patriots, we need to protect our prized possession, our most expensive player in Dak Prescott. So we went out and got the guard from Alabama. And of course, I'm thinking wide receiver to go along with CeeDee Lamb, but we didn't do that. And so we did some other moves afterwards. Still not in the wide receiver department that I would have liked to. But Jerry's got something else in his mind. But the Cowboys did what they had to do and picked up some needs, obviously, as well. I'm really hoping that this player from BC, defensive end, plays on one side with Parsons on the other, and they become a dynamic combination, one from the right, one from the left. And really have a good defense.
I think they need a new quarterback. That's what I think.
Well, they could. I'd like to see a healthy one because he hasn't been healthy in a
Right.
couple of years. So hopefully that will help out.
By the way, before we flip over to baseball, we were talking about the Celtics before, and Chris and I have always had this running gag where I like to criticize Tatum a little bit for not really coming through in the big moments in the last shot of the game and all that. In fact, last year, his shooting average really wasn't that great in the playoffs. And, Brown won the MVPs and all that. Right. Okay. But I have to say this. I'm watching the game, and I don't go to a lot of games, but I'm at Orlando, and I like the sort of like high center court angle. It just must be like I'm trying to be in the press box, So I'm there at center court. I'm looking straight down on the court. And, when you're actually at the game, you can kind of, I don't know, just get a better feel for everything that's going on. And I have to tell you, you're going to have to put this down because this is a major concession for me. I'm watching everybody. I'm like, Tatum is the smoothest, really most talented athlete out there. I mean, he has real natural talent. He's smooth. He's fast. He does so many things. I mean, I have to give him credit. I do think that he still needs to come through when the chips are on the table. Sure. But as far as just sheer athleticism and ability, I'm watching him and say, this guy's the most talented player on this court. You know what I mean? And there's a lot of good players on the court, but you got to give him. And now he's in his late 20s. He continues to get better. And so, hey, hopefully it'll all come together this year and they can repeat.
Yeah, and I think the biggest part, Paul, he's always right now finding the right man and usually in the right spot where his rebounding and assists have been dramatically improved since the beginning. Now, his points have always been the points, and that's where he's done his most damage. But I think he's become a better complete player, averaging double-digit in rebounds and almost assists at sometimes during these games. And you kind of scratch your head and go, wow, how did he find that guy there? Or, look at him go for that rebound. So I think that's what's improved for me this year. I know he could always score, and he's going to get to the bank. He's going to take a lot of shots, and he's going to have some off games and some off, minutes here and there. But becoming the complete player, and the good ones do it. Like Jokic does it so big, but look what he does at rebounding, and look what he does, obviously, at assists. It's incredible. And Tatum's found that next level with that. So I'm really happy to see that from him.
Well, there was one game, I can't remember which one it was, and I almost texted you, but I was actually watching the game in bed and my phone was charging up. But it was toward the end of one of the games, and he had the ball, and I'm thinking, oh, God, he's not going to do one of these, like, ISO step back threes. And he cut right to the paint, took it to the basket, and went in and took it to the paint, went right to the hole with the basket, and I'm like, oh, this is great. This is what I want to see right here, because sometimes you don't need that step back three. Just go in and take the two,
I agree. And if he continues to think in that mode where, and even then, if they come out and collapse and double and triple, means someone's got to be open, and you got to rely on the others to make the big shots. If Al's going to make it, or Porzingis, or White, and we saw White when he had the big game, just as much as Brown when Tatum was out. It was nice to see that guys like that stepping up and can shoot the ball, and White's done a good job too.
Yeah, it's great to see, Tatum's out, and then you have Brown has a phenomenal game, one of the best playoff games that the Celtics have had, right? Then you have another day, Derek White goes off. I'm like, holy jeez, Derek White went off. Then another game, Porzingis has a great game. Then, Holiday is really important to have him back, because you may recall there was one series there where he just played phenomenal. He almost won the MVP. It was in discussion of the MVP for that particular series. So, and a guy who's won before, he won before he came to the Celtics. So, he seems to be a guy that seems to come through in the big moment. And, you have him, and even, we mentioned Pritchard off the bench and Al Horford and things like that. All those guys are important to another run for the Celtics, no question.
No, I agree. This is going to be a test, because I think these other teams are going to try to do what Orlando did. And Orlando is a big man. Orlando is a shooting guard, maybe away from being even better than what we saw from them. But I think their physicality, and said, we're not going to let the Celtics push us around. In fact, we're going to turn it around on them, and we're going to bang them, and we're going to drive, make them play defense. And we saw White get really hit. We saw Porzingis with the cut on his head. We saw some different things that we haven't seen the Celtics take. So it's going to be interesting how these next series and what the other teams want to do to them.
Yeah, it seems like the road is a little bit more difficult. I mean, last year everything seemed to fall into place. Every team that played, their best player was out. This year it's going to be different, and these teams are going to be gunning for Boston.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I mean, listen, they got the X on the back. They won it last year. They're looking to repeat. Teams know it. There's no doubt about it, and they're finding a way to, kind of do a little bit of what the Celtics are doing and find that depth in their team. Find some free agents that they can pick up and kind of figure out, well, see how they did it here. This is what we're going to do here, and kind of emulate what the Celtics have been able to accomplish in the last few years to get them where they are now and to keep that Celtics tradition going. You always think that when the Celtics win, and it started obviously with the big three, then it took a little time, then it came back with the next big three, then it took a little time, and then it came back with the next one. So even though the Celtics have those down years, but those down years are not for long periods of time, Paul. They find a way to get it back. Great Celtics tradition, and that's what they do well, to continue always to say, you got to watch out for Boston.
Yeah, and it's interesting you mentioned the big three because, this team seems to be a little bit different. I mean, we think of the big three as Tatum, Brown, and Porzingis, but, Porzingis has been in and out, injured and so forth. And I don't know, it just feels different. It feels more like you just have, obviously Tatum and Brown, but then these other guys are like right there. There's like a 5-man deep team, and even right into the bench. So it really does feel like it's not a big three. It's almost like a big five,
Well, I call it the big 2 and plus, because
Okay.
I think that you got those two guys.
A big 2
then
plus.
Then you got the plus players.
Yeah.
And those next 4 are plus players. White, Holiday, obviously Porzingis. You could put Horford. You could put Pritchard. So I call it 2 and plus more than the big 3, because
I like it.
that plus does a nice job of rotating. And again, if Sam Cassell, along with obviously their head coach, work together and sit back and say, this is how we got to do this, we'll be okay. Now, Paul, regular season and playoffs are 2 different things. Don't forget. You're not going to see Hauser for 20 minutes. You're not going to see a lot of these guys that you would normally see in the regular season come out here and do a lot more. You're going to drop down to 7 or 8 players. It's not going to be 10 and 11. So you got to be careful when it comes to that. But they got to make sure they're healthy. They got to make sure that they rotate just right and keep the pressure on all the time with those rotating systems.
All right, 774-218-3393. If you'd like to jump into the discussion here, Santos on Sports, and I see one of our regulars, Ryan Fast and Farias, jumping in there, talking a little bit about the Williams pick and the Patriots selection. He seems to be fairly optimistic in the comment there, Chris.
Sorry I'm late to the receiver talk, but, love the Williams pick. Outstanding. I mean, he would have liked a big guy like I was talking about, over the middle, stretch the field, go long kind of a guy. But, Williams fits something that Ryan likes, which is, that third receiver, that slot receiver, could be a 2, could do a little bit more, get the ball to him frequently like a Tyreek Hill, use the speed, use the reverses, quick little ins and outs, stuff like that. No problem. I think every team needs one of them. Ryan agrees. Williams is that guy. He says, won't win with his size, but gets you the route running and the speed. And the Pats have truly had years. He's one of the better speedsters in the class in the draft. So, it was something that the experts talked about when they saw this kid. You watch him on film, put him in a lot of different positions, and, again, try to get him the ball and utilize his speed. So it's something that the Patriots have used, Paul, since they had Bill 20 years ago, when you had Welkers, when you had Edelman's. And I think this is another guy to build on in that kind of situation. So, I think a lot of other teams should do the same thing. So I agree with Ryan. I like it. And at the same time, I still like to see something a little bit more with the height, over the middle, bigger size, physicality kind of receiver as well. Maybe they can find one along the way and stretch this out even more for Drake May to get more down the field, but then again, get one-on-one with this young speedster and let him do his thing.
Well, if he works out, right, and you combine him with, Stephon Diggs, obviously, who's a new
Yeah.
addition to the lineup, and then Hunter Henry, Hunter Henry has been a go-to guy. I mean, a lot of games, he was like the only guy there that you could really throw the ball to. And so now maybe Hunter Henry, Stephon Diggs, this kid over here, you got the kid on the offensive line, right? The tackle, the left tackle. Maybe Hunter Henry may end up getting open more because you got to worry about Stephon Diggs, and then you got to worry about this kid here, and it kind of diversifies a little bit, don't you think?
I do, as long as everybody's healthy and the offensive line gels and Diggs plays Patriot football.
Mm-hmm.
Don't be me kind of Stephon Diggs.
Mm-hmm.
Be a Patriot player. And we've seen Diggs do this with other teams and get frustrated and yell at coaches and not happy. I'm not getting the ball enough. It's me. You can't do that in Patriots land. And Patriots don't like that. So he's going to have to adapt and he's going to have to figure it out. If he does, he will help them. No doubt about it.
Well, he had some issues with Josh Allen, and I'm thinking, all right, I understand a lot of alpha dogs in the room and all that kind of thing. But here's a team, Buffalo, right on the doorstep of getting to the Super Bowl. And if it wasn't for that 13-second game when, Mahomes came down and won, I mean, Allen came through in the clutch and got him the lead with 13 seconds left and said, here, just stop him in 13 seconds. You can't do it, right? So, there's a team that's knocking on the door to the Super Bowl. One of the best quarterbacks in the league. I think you would agree that he's one of the best quarterbacks in the league, and you couldn't get along there. So now you're with the Patriots. It's a rebuilding team. There's going to be some growing pains. Yeah, I mean, I hopefully it'll work. I hope it does, but I certainly could see some of the issues that you described.
Yeah, and I'm sure how he was with the Texans as well when he was over there.
Right. Yeah.
And what happened there. So there was some situations, but it's time to grow up. You're not getting any younger. Just happy you're playing. You've had some injuries. Just get back to playing Stephon Diggs football the way that he can. Keep your mouth quiet. Just go out there and do your job, and he'll be okay. So hopefully that will happen.
All right, well, let's talk a little baseball while we can here in the last few minutes. And again, if you'd like to jump in and talk about anything, 774-218-3393. So I was thinking to myself, okay, before I go on, I just want to double check the standings. I know the Red Sox were a couple games over 500, and so 2 games over 500 has nothing to be jumping up and down about. But let me just look at the standings. And look at the standings. The Red Sox are a game and a half out. They're only a game and a half behind the Yankees. The Yankees are 18-13. The Red Sox are 17-15. So it doesn't even feel like the Red Sox have gelled yet. You know what I mean? Like there's a few things that have gone wrong here and there, and some guys in a slump, and the pitching has been pretty good, but I don't know. It feels like they haven't played their best ball yet. And having said that, they're still only a game and a half behind the Yankees. So I don't know. I'm feeling pretty good. I'm sorry to mention this before you go. I'm looking at the last place team there. Very unfortunate who's in last place in the American League East. While we're on the subject, the Baltimore Orioles. So it's an interesting thing here with the Sox. I mean, as a Red Sox fan, right? How should I be feeling? I mean, I'm feeling pretty good. I'm not going crazy, but I feel pretty good.
If I'm you, I would be feeling very good.
Ah.
And here's the reason why. Duran, slow start. Devers, slow start. Casas, slow start. Wong got hurt as catcher. Trevor Story, playing inspiring baseball right now for them. Campbell took a gamble, said this kid is the real deal. Batted like 186 in preseason. And Cora says this kid can play. Has stepped up his game. Bregman playing well. That's on the offense. Let's go pitching. Bellows just getting back. Giolito just getting back. 2 starters in the 5-man rotation. Walker Buehler pitched well. Crochet has pitched well. That's 4 guys. If you get them healthy, regular rotation, you got to kind of like it. Chapman pitching great in relief. This is inspiring to me, Paul, if you're a Red Sox fans, because things are starting now to fully come together. This is our team. Look what we've got. And if everybody stays healthy and you continue to play, I think they can actually be a contender and a playoff team.
All right. Well, I'm very glad to hear that.
I
I
do.
was feeling pretty good, and you're saying I should be feeling even better than pretty
I
good.
do.
It does feel like they haven't played their best ball yet, just what you said. Like things have started out slow. So I can see
Everything's
where,
starting to catch up now.
yeah, that's right. That's right. And, you know, the Yankees, right? Only a game and a half ahead of Boston. And, you know, you look at that lineup they have and the pitching that they have, and you're thinking, gee, they should be doing better than that.
I guess. I mean, you know, again, it's early in the season. You know, the East is playing the East. I still say it's one of the toughest divisions in baseball right now. And when you're playing against them, because Toronto can play tough, Tampa can play tough. My Orioles can play tough. Our problem is our starting pitching is not very good. When we lost Burns, that was a big loss. We haven't replaced it enough. We tried a couple of young rookies. They've gotten tagged as soon as they've had their major league debut. So that hasn't helped us. We still got the nucleus with the batting. That hasn't been the problem. The problem has been for the Baltimore Orioles is their pitching. The 5 starters have not come through in any way. Not enough to take it deep, maybe averaging 3 or 4 innings at best. That's where our biggest deficit is. So we need to improve on that. And I think they know it because they will not survive in the East with the pitching staff that they have.
Well, you know, Chapman, he was a great pitcher, obviously, before he came to Boston, an all-star and everything else. But then, you know, sometimes, you know, a guy that was really good 2-3 years ago doesn't pan out this year, you know. But I see him on the mound, and man, he's got great velocity. He's been there before. He's a closer. He comes through in the moment that you need him. And I don't know, I'm watching Chapman. I'm like, wow, this guy, he seems like he's still got it.
Sometimes a change of scenery, Paul, can go a long way. And I think this guy's making the best of his opportunity. And he's saying, hey, they need me. They want me. They're calling on me. And I'm going to give them everything I got. And right now, absolutely, he's done the job.
Now, what do you make of this guy Casas here? You know, like he's kind of an interesting character. You know, he's there at first base. He actually has been in a pretty bad slump. He tends to come across like he thinks he's a little bit better than he is. I mean, that's just the way he comes across. He has like these kind of strange ways of going about his business. Everybody's different. You know, he was spotted walking around with no shoes on. He was sunbathing in right field during the spring training. And then they asked him, hey, what do you think about bringing up these guys? Well, I think the guys are here that are fine. Those guys will have to wait. Like, like he's Manny Ramirez or he's somebody that, you know, has a spot already lined up. I did see him hit a nice home run in spring training, so that was nice to see. But, you know, I don't know. He seems to be kind of a strange guy. And some have said that, hey, maybe you either – bench him and bring somebody else and put them at first base or kind of juggle things up a little bit. Should they wait a little longer and wait for things to come around with him? What do you think?
They've invested a lot in him and said that he's going to be our guy at first. That's one. Two, if you don't like the attitude and he's stuck up for Devers and he got involved in that, and should he? I'm not really sure. But what kind of leader is he trying to be? If that's what they're asking him to do. But I don't think Cora pulls punches, Paul. I think he says, this is my team and we're going to do it my way. So if there's something, if this kid doesn't start doing what he's supposed to, I think Cora will make some moves and say, hey, I can put someone else over there or maybe we can call someone up and do something different. So, yeah, I think they'll be okay. And hopefully they'll push his buttons and he'll get back to playing some better baseball. But I really don't know how good he is. I don't think he's that great right now. He needs a lot to improve and show us offensively and defensively.
Yeah, defensively he's been shaky.
Yeah, he's been shaky there. So he needs to really worry just about how to stay on the field right now.
Did you see Duran steal home the other day? That was exciting.
I did. Something that we haven't seen, obviously, from the Red Sox in a long time. Yeah, you look for something to jumpstart your team, Paul. And this is a guy that has had some demons. And he's kind of getting rid of the demons. And he's trying to make the best of it. So I'm rooting for him. I love leadoff batters. He's got some pop in the bat. The kid can fly. He can flat out fly. He can run with the best of them. And so, I like to see him do well and get rid of these demons and become a great ball player. And right now, his game is starting to, at least for this year, get back to what it was last year and get better. So hopefully it will continue.
Well, he had a great year last year, as you recall. He represented the Red Sox in the All-Star game, ended up the MVP of the All-Star game.
Yeah.
And you're absolutely right. You know, when I went to the game, and you see it on television, but then when you're there, you get a different feel for him. I mean, he hit the ball and he was gone. It was like watching somebody in a track meet. I mean, he is really fast.
Yeah, he sure is. And, singles can turn into doubles. Doubles can turn into triples. We can steal from first to second, second to third, and we can steal from third to home. So, listen, he's a run producer, and you want him on base. So if he walks, fine. If he slap hits and beats it out, great. If he gives you the single, double, triples, and homers, that's bonuses. So this kid can really help turn a team that's kind of struggling and what we call old school, Paul, find a way to produce runs. And you like guys like that. I thrive for guys like that because that's what I was brought up with. So I like it instead of just, okay, lean over and try to hit a home run. Lean over, try to hit a home run. He doesn't do that.
And it's an exciting brand of ball. It's like the old-time National League ball when we were kids, the old Pete Rose, that kind of like, Charlie Hustle and all that kind of stuff.
Absolutely.
But I got to tell you, now they have so many angles, with cameras all over the place. I don't know how many cameras they got in the ballpark, but when they showed the replay from I don't know how many different angles, because they had to challenge it. The other team had to challenge it, so I had to look at it, and back and forth, back and forth. But I got to tell you, I love seeing the umpire, how the umpire went down on one knee, and his head was about 2 feet from home plate. And he's just looking down like this, and you can see that hand go under there, and he's like, he's safe, And I'm like, what a great call by the umpire, and what a great opportunity and a great job they did with the camera work, seeing all the different angles.
Well, today's technology is one of the greatest things ever. And, you talk about how to speed up the game, the strike zone continues to still be an inconsistency, Paul. I don't know if you've seen it. I've seen it so far in these first 30 games or so, that these umpires are still missing some called strikes.
Right.
And I'm wondering if MLB is going to keep track of this. And is this going to turn into something different later on down the line and say, this is how we can fix this problem? So I'll be really curious if this year and next year, there's a lot more. Oh, he missed 5 here. He missed 8 in that game. He missed 12 here. And they do some changes later on down the road in MLB.
Well, I believe that in some of the minor leagues, aren't they experimenting with, you can challenge so many pitches during the course of the game. And so now it's like, oh, here we go, we're going to have artificial intelligence or whatever it is, calling the balls and strikes. But if you really want accuracy, you know what I mean? Like the thing can do it better, I think, than a human being can do it,
I guess. I mean, it's tough to take away that,
human
element, that ability that we've seen for so long, and that natural instinct from an umpire compared to what a computer can do. So it's tough, but look out. It could happen.
Well, that thing about the challenge, it's like 3 balls, 2 strikes. The pitcher's on the outside corner. He rings out, wait a minute, timeout. I got 3 challenges. I want to challenge that strike. And apparently they're doing that in the minor leagues. I'm like, wow, that would be something so different that we'd have to get accustomed to, I guess, if they do it. But that's, I don't know how you feel about that.
Yeah, and the same thing with stolen bases. He slides in, and next thing you know, he pops right up, and they call him out, and he looks right in the dugout, and he's pointing like, hey, look at the camera. And so now you got to wait, and then they go and they check. So, yeah, that's, new technology, and I don't think it's going away, Paul. In fact, I think it's sticking around, and it's going to continue to stick around.
You really don't have the arguments. There's no reason to have an argument. They don't have those big arguments with, Billy Martin kicking dirt and Earl Weaver, going ballistic out there, right? They don't do that anymore because they go, all right, if you're wrong, we're just going to fix it anyway. So there's nothing to argue about.
Yeah, true. And so, you don't see too many.
Hey, you ever see that
guys
clip
in the bullpen run out anymore? Yeah.
You ever see the famous one? In fact, my son, this happened way before his time, but there's that clip where Earl keeps leaving and coming back and leaving and coming back and leaving and coming back. You ever see that one? It's hilarious. He's arguing the umpire. He keeps coming back,
Well, listen, that's another one like the Herb Brooks speech that I know word for word. And Earl Weaver comes out after Eddie Murray talks to him, and then Earl gets in there, and then the guy goes over here to the chest, and Earl says, "Don't put your finger on me." And the guy says, "I didn't put your finger on you. Now you're a liar." And he goes, "No, you're a liar, Earl." And then Earl walks away. Then the crowd, and then he turns around and goes,
"That's right. Yeah, that's the one."
Yeah, so that's the one there. But of course, there's some F words in there and a little bit more. So I will keep this G-rated instead of what Earl actually really says. But if you ever get a chance to see it on YouTube, it's one of the good ones. I think that one, and there was another one from Joe Torre. I saw Joe Torre when he was coaching the Braves go over on a rant too, and he really let the ump have it, and it was quite good as well. So those are the old days. You can't do that nowadays.
Yeah. Well, didn't they have an exchange, something to the effect that the umpire or Earl said to the umpire, "Hey, you're not having a good game, or you're not having a good year," and he says, "Oh, you're not having a good year either. What happened in the World Series last year?" or something like that. He went back and forth,
he did. He goes, "You know what?" He goes, "But the thing is, I'll still be here, and when I'm in the Hall of Fame," and the guy goes, "Oh, you're going to be in the Hall of Fame," and Earl goes, "That's right. I'll be in the Hall of Fame, and you'll be nothing."
yeah, it's great. Great stuff. Yeah. Well, anyway, okay, the only team we haven't talked about, maybe because they've kind of fallen by the wayside and it hasn't been good, and that is the old Boston Bruins. And actually, your team, Sidney Crosby, they didn't make the playoffs either, and they just fired Mike Sullivan. So focusing on the Bruins for a moment, obviously they traded Marchand. I don't know if they got enough for him or not. I don't know if they did, but missing the playoffs for the first time in 10 years, I'm looking at this team, and I'm like, wow, just looking at the roster and looking at some of the players that are coming up and that whole problem with Swayman and everything, it's starting to feel to me like it might take a little time for this thing to turn around. I hope we don't go through one of these stretches like when Joe Thornton first got there and we went, 7 or 8 years without making the playoffs.
There's a team in Vegas and there's a team at St. Louis that disagree with the Boston Bruins and say, we know how to make the playoffs. Yeah. And so those two coaches have made it. And Boston did not. And in fact, either did Chicago and either did Detroit. And so some of the first six, as they call it, of the NHL, a lot of these teams didn't make the playoffs. But that being said, Paul, this team has a lot more to worry about. First, it's the head coach. Then it's some players that they signed that did not come through at all this year. And then they have to find a way to get back the big, bad swagger of the big, bad Bruins that they do not have at this particular time. So they have a lot of work. I don't know if it's going to take a long time, but they're not in a good spot right now. They have a lot of needs, and it starts obviously up top and then a head coach.
It was only such a short time ago that they had that best record in the league. What was that, like 2-3 years ago? And now they just like all of a sudden this mediocre team that, missed the playoffs by a lot.
Well, Zdeno Chara is not walking through that door. Patrice Bergeron is not walking through that door. Brad Marchand is not walking through that door anymore. So the Bruins have made some changes, but they got to come back. And we've known them, Paul, as the hard grinding, lunch pail, big bad Bruins that we've known forever. That's been their style since as long as we can remember. Right. So if Sweeney and Neely continue in that situation, they have to do a better job in finding the product to put on the ice to say, this is it. And I don't think they've done it in the last couple of years.
As you know, Chris, I'm not a big golf person.
Golf.
However, if I happen to, put the television on a Sunday afternoon and I come across it, I will watch it, So I know you were watching. I put on the end of the Masters, right? And I'm watching the Masters. I'm like, wow, this is great. This is great theater. What a great finish they had this year.
It was outstanding.
Yeah.
For me, I had my little side pools that I do. And Unfortunately, I had number 2, number 3, number 4, and number 5 to win it, and
Uh-oh.
I didn't have McElroy. So unfortunately, 2, 3, 4, and 5 do me no good when I needed one of them to win, and Rory beat me instead. So, but yeah, dramatic stuff. Real fun to watch. And if you're a golfer, it's one of the greatest tournaments to be probably at, never mind watch on TV. I hope a bucket list someday I'm able to go see that.
Yeah, that would be obviously cool. Let's see now. What do we got here? Jared Russell Cordell says, great Joe, fellas. Thank you very much. David Mead, try again. That's right. Well, you're not going to do the over-under. You sure? Come on, over-under. The Patriots will be over 500 this year. Let's do 8-7. Or what is it? No, 9-8. Excuse me, 9-8.
Okay, but you have to admit, I would think already going into this year, the over and under has to be more than 5, wouldn't you think?
Sure, absolutely.
So I got to wait to see what it comes out and what it looks like. If it's 6, 7, 8, whatever it is, and then I'll try to get my mind in a specific way and maybe look at them or another team, and then it kind of get my thoughts, and I'll make a decision as it gets a little bit closer.
For those who do not recall, last year Chris had 5 as the over-under, put down a few Benjis on that, number 5, and of course the Patriots won 4. And actually blew at least 2-3 games right at the very end. So I'm watching these games, and I'm a Patriot fan, and I'm like, oh God, this is absolutely terrible. The only guy that feels worse than me is Chris Santos right now. Because I was just rooting for the Patriots. I didn't have any greenbacks on it. You know what I mean?
You could have sat back and say, come on, Patriots. Chris Santos needs you to win. You got, trying to root for your buddy too,
Yeah.
See how you are? You always thinking about the Pats.
Yeah, and then the only game that they did win, the only time I've ever rooted against the Patriots in the last 50 years, right? The only time I've ever rooted against them, they won the damn game. God, that was brutal.
I'll tell you, some of these guys are gonna live with that loss for a long time and say, do you remember when we had the number 4 pick when we could have got the number 1 pick, but we won the last game of the season?
Yeah, and you know what? Obviously, they weren't going to take the quarterback at number 1, but they would have taken the number 2 or the number 3, right? So, suppose one of those guys turns out to be like a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, do not trust the Patriots again, because the only time they were winning when Tom Brady was the quarterback. Okay, that's right. Yeah, that's true. As soon as Tom Brady left, the whole thing went down the tubes. They treated him like Johnny Foxborough, and that was it. It was time to go. All right, well, we'd like to take the opportunity to thank Scotty's Pub, Citywide Glass, Lakeville Athletic Club, and attorney John B. Seed for sponsoring Santos on Sports. It's great to be back. Hopefully we'll get a little more regular schedule going. A lot of fun stuff coming up. Celtics, Red Sox, Patriots going to be starting down the road. See if they can put something together, and off we go. And now your tennis season, your coaching season is now over.
It is over, so now it's time to get back to maybe myself getting on the golf course a little bit more and getting some more swings in. But once again, everyone, I want to reach out to you, and hopefully, if you're up early on a Saturday morning, 7 o'clock to 9 o'clock, WBSM, give Paul a call. It's not sports.
I know.
But it will be the topics that Paul comes up with, and maybe it'll be something that you're intrigued with. Give him a call in. I'm sure he'll love to hear from you.
Well, we have a regular follower of this podcast who calls on occasion, Butch from Acushnet. Butch from Acushnet calls that other show quite a bit,
Well, listen, he's a jack of all trades,
Yeah, he certainly is.
Very knowledgeable in a lot of things. So
sometimes we agree and sometimes we don't, but his calls are always very informative and very interesting, and we always appreciate them.
He's always up early in the morning, so he'll have his cup of coffee and be ready to go if you're ready for him.
Oh, he has no excuse not to tune in then if he's up early.
He can listen.
All right, well, good to talk to you. And by the way, before we go, I'm going to tell the audience this. I'm out in New Bedford one night, and I'm out with a group of attorneys, and I'm at a bar in the north end of New Bedford, and these couple guys over here say, hey, with Chris Santos, So I said, oh, what do you? Oh, yeah, Paul Santos, from the podcast. Oh, how you doing?
Yes.
Yeah. So then I figured out they started saying Chris Santos this, Chris Santos that. He was the best player in this and blah, 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 you know. So I said, well, let me take a picture and send it to Chris. So I take a picture and I send it off to Chris. He's like, oh, God, you're hanging out with these guys tonight. So I got a kick out of that. I had a good laugh that night.
Oh, I think I said there's a pair that beats a full house. That's
right. Yeah, that's right.
One of the guys that I had. And let me tell you where you were. That's a cast of characters in there. But, I've stopped in there once in a while to say hello to them. But, yeah, absolutely. I'll probably run into them again. And they'll say, how come you didn't bring Paul with you this time?
Yeah, right. Hey, look at this. He's saying, David Mead is now saying bet on the Dolphins.
Oh, if you're going to put a bet on anything, go with the Dolphins. Oh, boy.
Sure.
Oh, boy. I don't know. Definitely don't know if I can do that. But who knows? You never know. I'll have to wait till the Vegas lines come out on the over and unders. And my father-in-law usually goes in June, and he brings the papers back. And that's when I look at it, and then I start making my decision.
All right, Chris, a lot of fun as usual. Thank you, and thanks to our audience. We'll talk to you again very soon here on Santos on Sports. For Chris, I'm Paul. Have a great night.